Have you ever looked at a field of grass and just seen, well, grass? What if I told you that hidden inside a simple photograph of that field is a massive amount of scientific data? Data that can tell us about the health, the nutrition, and even the stress level of every single plant. Okay, let's dive into the amazing science of how we can turn a simple picture into a powerful scientific insight. So, to get why this is such a big deal, you first have to understand the scale of the problem. Agricultural research isn't just a few pots in a lab. We're talking about thousands of individual test plots like these, spread out across absolutely enormous fields. Just imagine trying to walk through all of that, manually recording how each and every one is doing. It's a huge, huge challenge to get data that's consistent and reliable. So, that's the big question, right? On this massive scale, with so much to keep track of, how in the world can scientists possibly monitor the health and progress of every single plant? How do you measure something like greenness across thousands of plots accurately and, just as importantly, efficiently? Well, the answer, and this is the cool part, is probably something many of us have sitting in a drawer or maybe even in our pocket right now. We're going to see how we can unlock all of this data using nothing more than a standard digital camera. And there it is. The hero of our story isn't some multi-million-dollar satellite or a crazy piece of lab equipment. Nope, it's a rugged, off-the-shelf, consumer-grade digital camera. And that accessibility, that's what makes this entire approach so powerful and such a game changer. So what makes a simple camera such a great tool for what's called phenotyping, which is really just a fancy word for observing a plant's physical traits? Well, for one, it's low cost, which is absolutely critical for these huge projects. You can snap photos and gather tons of data really fast. They're easy to use, and a lot of them are already GPS enabled and tough enough for fieldwork. I mean, it really checks all the boxes. Okay, so we've got the tool. But how do we go from just taking snapshots to capturing actual, legitimate scientific measurements? This is where the process gets really serious and super methodical. And here is the absolute key to the whole thing. You can't just point and shoot. If you want data that you can actually compare from one plot to another, or from this week to next week, you need to have strict controls in place. Every single image has to be an apples-to-apples comparison. Consistency is everything. And this is what those controls look like in the real world. On the left, you can see the physical setup. They actually include a standard color checker card in every single shot. That little card acts as a baseline, so the computer software knows exactly how to interpret the colors later. And then on the right, you see the digital settings. The f-stop, the exposure, the ISO, all of it is locked in. It stays exactly the same for every single photograph taken. And when you do all that careful work, this is what you get: a beautiful, perfect grid of scientifically consistent images. Every photo here isn't just a picture anymore. It's a reliable data point, captured and ready for what comes next, which is the truly transformative part, the digital analysis. All right, this is where the real magic happens. We're about to see how computer software can take these seemingly simple images and pull out incredibly complex and meaningful patterns right from the pixels themselves. So the whole workflow is pretty straightforward. First, the software has to figure out which pixels are plants and which are just dirt or shadows. Next, it runs some special calculations on those plant pixels to create something called a vegetation index. And finally, it analyzes different color models or color spaces to extract even more detail. Okay, let's walk through it. This is our starting point, a raw image straight out of the camera. You can see it all here. The green grass, sure, but also the brown soil peeking through, and even some of those yellowish, unhealthy-looking patches. And boom! Just like that, in the first step of the analysis, the software uses some clever tools to digitally erase everything that isn't a plant. The soil is gone. All you have left are the pixels that represent the actual turf itself. This is so critical for getting an accurate measurement. So, now that we have only the plant pixels, what do? We apply what's called a vegetation index. The easiest way to think about it is like a special recipe. It's a mathematical formula that takes the red, green, and blue color values of all those pixels and kind of cooks them down into one single meaningful number that quantifies a specific trait, like greenness or plant density. And this is what that actually looks like. The image you're seeing has been processed with a specific index called the dark green color index, or DGCI. This isn't a normal photo anymore. The colors are now a form of data visualization. The brightest yellow-green spots are the areas that represent the highest DGCI value, meaning those were the parts of the grass with the darkest, richest green in the original photo.
Okay, so we've done all this work, all this fancy processing, but what does it actually tell us? Let's get to the payoff because this is where it gets really cool. This is what the data reveals.
And this chart, wow, this is really where it all comes together. Each one of those little dots is a single photograph. Now, on the bottom axis, you have the actual physically measured percentage of green cover. And on the side axis, you have a value that was calculated from the photo's color data. And just look at that relationship. It's an almost perfectly straight line. Amazing. So just how perfect is that line? Well, we can measure it with something called the R-squared value. And R-squared of 1 would be a perfect 1-to-1 match. And here we have 0.9781. For anyone not deep into statistics, let me just tell you that is an insanely high correlation. It means the color data from a cheap camera photo is an almost perfect predictor of what's physically happening in the field. It's just a stunningly accurate measurement. But wait, it gets even better. This method is so sensitive and so powerful that the research shows you can build a model that goes beyond just color and can actually predict the nitrogen content inside the plants. We're not just seeing the plants anymore, we are literally seeing into them, all from a simple photo. And, this wasn't just a fluke or a one-time thing. Here's another graph, this one showing the results from that dark green color index we saw earlier. And again, you can see a very strong, very clear positive line. The method is robust, it's repeatable, and it's scientifically solid. So we've drilled all the way down from a huge field to a single patch of grass and turned it into a precise data point. Now, let's zoom back out and take a look at the bigger picture and what all of this could mean for the future of farming. This is really just the beginning. The next steps are to start fusing this image data with other measurements, like the temperature of the plant canopy or the moisture in the soil. Scientists can compare these ground-level shots with imagery from drones to scale the whole thing up even further. And the ultimate goal? It's to build powerful models that can help farmers make smarter decisions and help scientists breed better, more resilient, drought-resistant crops. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? By combining a simple tool that we all have with a really clever and rigorous process, we can unlock this entire world of information that was there the whole time. It just begs the question, what other incredible secrets are hiding all around us, in plain sight, just waiting for us to find the right way to look?